Hi, Lillian here from Crackin' Crafting. Welcome to Know How Series Class 1 for crafters who are new to stamping. If you're watching this on YouTube, I suggest you click on the Class 1 link below the video to view full instruction on my blog. Today you will make two very simple but lovely cards which will allow you to practice using the stamping trimmer, stamps and inks. And you'll learn a very basic rule of card design that will keep you right each and every card project. Then you'll be ready to move on to Class 2, where we step it up a bit. Okay, so for Project 1, we will be using a photopolymer stamp set called Sheltering Tree. It's on page 140 of your Stampin' Up! Annual catalogue. Details on how to get a Stampin' Up! Catalogue are below. You can see all the details you need to know about this stamp set right here in the catalogue under the picture. Importantly, here it will advise you which clear blocks you will need and what languages the set is available in. And the catalogue will even give you some project ideas to try out for yourself. If you've already viewed my blog page, Know How in 3 Easy Lessons and Introduction, you will already know the characteristics of the different types of stamp sets: photopolymer, clear and wood mount. Today we're using a photopolymer stamp set. This is Sheltering Tree and is one of my all-time favourites. I will include some links on my blog to other Sheltering Tree projects that you will enjoy. It's a friendship stamp set with flowers, bike, swing and of course a tree. Note that it also tells you what blocks you need to use: A, H, B and E. This set uses what we call two-step stamping, where the tree and the bike have individual stamps, which when combined, build the final image you want in the colours you want. Photopolymer stamps are totally transparent for perfect image placement. They cling like crazy to your clear blocks, so you don't have to worry about them falling off. However, I do recommend you give them a good clean when you first get them to remove any factory residue from them. If your stamps lose their stickiness over time, simply wash in soap and water, then blot dry to re-sticky them. Another point to mention is you should look at the side of your block. Here it will show you the block size. Please note, clear blocks are sold separately to stamp sets. Another invaluable little item to have to hand is a sand eraser for those little smudges that I inevitably put onto my cardstock with inky fingers. Today we'll make this beautiful friendship card on an A6 long edge fold. I'm using UK measurements with an A4 card sized 21 centimetres by 29.7 centimetres. Using the Stampin' Trimmer and card short side up, line up to 10.5 centimetres, keeping it tight against the guide bar, and score using the lighter coloured score blade. Now with your cardstock long side up, make sure it's buffered against the guide bar. Line it up to the centimetre mark here at 14.8 centimetres and using the dark grey cutting tool, cut straight down. This will give you two card bases scored and cut. Now we use the bone folder to burnish that crease. I use the flat of the bone folder to do this. All cards will have a leading edge. The leading edge will be the front of your card. You'll see this once you try to open a card. If it opens easily, that is the front. That is your leading edge. Flip it over. If it doesn't open easily, that is the back of the card. This is the rule of thirds guide. It's made to the exact same size as your card front, 10.5 by 14.8. It's divided equally into thirds, horizontally and vertically. And where the lines cross, this is your sweet points. Just here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we see the tree sits in the top 2/3 and the land and sentiment in the bottom. the tree also lines up with that left hand vertical. The right hand side is free of ink, giving some white space for the eye to rest. Here we have the old and new style classic stamping pads. This is the old style. It had a click and slide and flip mechanism. And in reverse to close. The new style opens just like your normal compact. It can be a little stiff at first, but it will loosen up with use. In here we can use this piece as a palette if you were using aqua painters or blender pens. Simply turn the ink pad over and squeeze it together. That'll transfer the ink onto the palette. Okay, so let's get started. We're using the soft suede ink pad with the tree stamp. When I'm using photopolymer stamps, I like to put a foam mat underneath them. This ensures a nice crisp, clear stamped image. Cover the foam with printer paper to protect it from the ink. With a larger stamp like this, you take the stamp pad to the stamp to ink it up rather than the other way round. Now let's check our rule of thirds alignment. We'll put the guide over the card base and we're going to align the tree stamp along that left hand vertical. Press down, allow the ink to settle for a couple of seconds, and perfect stamping in perfect alignment. Ink up with Melon Mambo ink pad. Now, make sure you've got it the right way up. This little blossom at the bottom tells me where I wish to place it. Place it over the branches of the tree and press down. Give it a few seconds for the ink to settle. Now lift the stamp, turn it slightly and place it down again without inking in between. This is called second generation stamping. And as you'll see, the first stamp set down some quite deep colour, but when you lifted it and replaced the stamp without re-inking, you got these paler shades around the outside, so it gives you two different shades of the same colour. Now to stamp the ground, we're using Granny Apple Green. Just ink up, 3 short taps usually does it. Place the stamp at the base of the tree. Give it a few seconds for the ink to take. And there we are. To stamp the little swing, we're going to go back to the soft suede ink pad, but I don't want this swing to be as dark a shade as the tree trunk, so I'm going to use a technique called stamping off. Once you've inked, stamp off once onto scrap paper, and then I line it up here with the branch of the tree and stamp down once. Give it a second to settle, and there we go. The shade is much lighter than the shade of the tree. Perfect. To complete the front of the card, we just need our sentiment. The sentiment is friendship is a sheltering tree. We use Memento Black ink pad. Stampin' Up sells this. You take the ink pad to the stamp as the stamp is a little bit long. Stamp it up well. And now make sure to turn it around the right direction and stamp it in that bottom third, just there. Perfect. just to check, we use our rule of thirds. For the inside of the card, we'll stamp the sentiment, "You warm my heart." Again, we're going to use the Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad. Keeping in mind the rule of thirds, I'll stamp this towards the top third. Just add some colour. We're going to use the small blossom stamp and the Melon Mambo ink pad and just stamp it underneath the sentiment. I'll alternate the stamp by turning it round each time I re-ink it and stamp it, so that it's not all going in the same pattern. There we are, that's the card finished, and what friend wouldn't be delighted to receive a card like this? Sometimes I like to decorate the front of the envelopes too. So I'm going to use the little bike frame in this case, stamp it in Memento Black ink pad, and just stamp it to the bottom right of the envelope. Give it a couple of seconds for the ink to take as usual. And there we have the wheels, the seat and the handlebars. Now we'll stamp the bike frame itself, and I want this to be a different colour. This is where two-step stamping comes in. So now I ink up in Melon Mambo. It's quite easy to place the stamp because you can see through the photopolymer stamp onto the image below and line it up perfectly. There we go. Now I want to decorate the back of the envelope just on the flap. But to protect the front of the envelope, I'm going to mask it using some printer paper. Now we use our large blossom stamp again and the Melon Mambo ink pad. Ink it up as usual, taking the pad to the stamp. And stamp it down on the envelope flap. You'll see part of the ink will go onto the mask. Simply repeat twice more. And that's it. As you can see, the mask has protected the front of the envelope from the excess ink. So that's our envelope finished. And indeed, that's our project finished. So we'll move on to project 2. Here are 4 other little projects to inspire you. These can be found over on my blog, crackencrafting.com. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter for more hints, tips and inspiration, and some exclusive tutorials just for you. Follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest and Instagram. Full details below. And I'm looking forward to seeing you for project 2. See you soon.